want to tell you guys a story. There's this girl, Annie. Annie grew up in Connecticut. She went to school for French literature and art history. She graduated school, she came to California. She was working under a guy named John Kongsgaard, but she wasn't really in the wine side of things. Meanwhile, there's this other guy, Andy. And Andy, he was going to go to Tufts University for political science. Andy makes his way out here and is working in San Francisco at a corporate job that's running some things in Napa Valley. Andy's sitting in the room one day, looking out the window and realizing that this life isn't for him anymore. That life is. So Andy has a change of heart. Meanwhile, Annie, she's kind of feeling the same way. She's feeling like, you know, maybe this isn't for her. Maybe there's something else. Maybe the vineyard's calling. Flash forward to 2017. Annie is Annie Favia. She's now considered one of the leading viticulturalists in Napa Valley. And her husband, yeah, they got married. Andy, he's Andy Erickson. And if that name doesn't ring a bell, I'll clue you in. Andy was responsible for making some pretty serious wines. Andy worked at Dalla Valle, he worked at Screaming Eagle, he's now the winemaker at Maya Kamas, and he's considered a pretty big deal in Napa Valley. In 2003, they started their own wine called Favia. Favia is located in a little place called Coombsville, and I love Coombsville. Coombsville is the newest AVA in Napa Valley, and it's one of the most underrated places in all of the valley. But Annie and Andy saw that Coombsville was just waiting to happen, and that's what brings us to Favia.
Originally known as Antonio Carboni Winery and Italian Gardens. When we bought the property, we decided not to plant grapes here because we want to keep the contracts that we've had up in the hills for years and years and years. We did plant a young olive orchard, which is starting to come along, and then we interplanted very wide spacing. They had 40-foot spacing back then when land prices were not as crazy as they are in Napa East. So for Favia, we make all of our wines from this eastern Vaca range. And as you know, the east side of the valley, or the Vaca Range, is all volcanic material. And I'm always looking for kind of cooler, as we know in Napa Valley. Heat can be our enemy. It's obviously our friend, the sun, but sometimes it can be too intense. So for instance, one of the reasons we love Coombsville so much is you feel this breeze.
Yeah, it's
and nice. I'll show you an aerial photo later that really allows you to see how close we are to the bay and the little gap that's basically right there where the wind comes up and swirls in Coombsville and then kind of goes out and dissipates. So we always get this breeze here, even early in the morning, which is how it can be cooler.
Pressing, it's pretty exciting.
It smells really good.
It does smell really good. Oh, this is so cool. What a great entrance.
Yeah, these are the original doors. It's really cool. And had these Greek monks here. They just had been up to Maya Kamas.
I was going to say, it looks a lot like Maya Kamas.
Yeah, so this was built in 1886. Maya Kamas was built in 1889, and this in 1886.
Yeah.
We beat them by a few.
It's like a mini Maya Kamas. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Plus we live upstairs, so it makes
You do?
it more special, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really
The smell
cool.
of fermentation comes up into the bedroom at night. It's really cool.
We have to
Wow.
an amazing open the windows so we don't die at night in the little season.
That's really cool. How many other winemakers get to live above their winemaking space? I can't think of very few, yeah.
This is Oakville Cabernet Sauvignon that we picked like 3 weeks ago. This is 2017 Cabernet Sauvignon. So this is the same vineyard as the one we're pressing today.
Thank you.
Let me give that to you. But these grapes were picked about a week after the stuff that we're pressing today. So
So cool.
but very exciting. This is
Yeah.
great.
Vintage is going to be awesome.
So exciting.
We are very excited about this vintage.
Really weird, but I mean, patience is a virtue because, well, also I think Cabernet Sauvignon, like Napa, we did much better than some other areas. I've heard horror stories about Russian River and Pinot Noir and stuff like that. So this was the stuff we're pressing today was picked kind of right after the heat. This was like 10 days later, and then we're still harvesting. We still have fruit out of that same vineyard, and it's just...
We've done a lot of viticulture over the years to prepare for that. And I was talking about the east side. Like this property has a lot of eastern exposures on the east side, where there's just a little inclination, almost like you see on the Mayacamas range, where you're getting morning sun but not afternoons.
Right.
So you really don't get that beating heat in the afternoon. We've done a lot with the trellising, with canopy, trying to keep things protected over the years. So, you know, this is not our first time with heat spikes. Even though
this year it's actually pretty helpful to be old.
Yeah.
Veteran.
To be old.
Be around for a long time.
Isn't it always helpful?
This
Usually.
Yeah.
This business, you get one chance every year. I've had some vintages like this, and you have to just toughen up. And
But that's kind of what I feel like.
Reactive.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think if there's anything that we've at least learned over my past 2 years here, it's, you know, people are always going to ask, how is the vintage? And ultimately it comes down to like, who's trained for the vintage? It's not how is the vintage, it's who's got the equipment and the wherewithal to know what to do, because it's just, it doesn't matter what the vintage.
you got
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. You might have a beautiful vintage, but if you don't know what to do with it, then...
Absolutely, and that's the fun part and the exciting part when it's, you know, when it's challenging. And the interesting thing that I think we've learned over the years is to not be reactive. And you learn every year that there's only so much that you can control. What you can control is really important to be on top of, like you said, with whatever tools you have. But what you can't control, you need to let go of and really work on, you know, just having that intuition and listening to that intuition.
She meditates a lot.
Adorable little rat. Isn't this the cutest thing you've ever seen? I think it's really important to certify organic as opposed to not certifying, because I think it shows your commitment to the practice and to fully committing to the practice. With organic farming, the essential issue is that there are no easy outs. There's no bullet that's going to come in and save you if you've waited too long. It's all about prevention. It's all about building the soil. It's preventative medicine. You know, it's putting all that compost in, having biodiversity around you so that those insects are in balance, having your body out in the vineyard seeing what's going on so that if you see something and you feel something's a little bit weird, you can respond to it way earlier. My dream is that the Napa Valley is the first and most daring appellation in the world that certifies the entire valley organic. So I talk about it all the time. Don't you think that would be the coolest thing ever?
That would be the coolest thing ever.
If the whole valley just said, yes, we're going to commit to making this place as healthy as possible and giving our soils the best, you know, possible longevity, and, you know, pass this place down better than we found it. Wouldn't that be awesome? In 2001, Ann Kramer called me and said, I found an amazing property. I'd love for you guys to make some wine from it. And I said, great, where? And she said, Amador County. Yeah, God, I went out there and I was blown away. I mean, I never had any desire to make wine in a place like that, but I certainly got that desire. That opinion changed very quickly. So this is Shake Ridge. We worked together to put this piece together. It's phenomenal. The cool thing about it there is there's so many slopes and exposures that you can simulate like a west side and an east side really easily. We wanted to do Rhone varietals. We actually planted Syrah on all the north and east facing slopes. Grenache, Mourvedre, south and west, warmer slopes. The Viognier was planted. Andy did his master's thesis on co-pigmentation and co-fermentation. So we actually planted the Viognier just for the Syrah. We weren't planning on making it to co-ferment. And the first year it was, it was not ripe. At the same time, it was ripe quite a bit earlier than the Syrah. We made it on its own. We make the wines naturally. We don't inoculate. It took a year and a half to ferment. It was so delicious.
Is it?
We were like, yeah. Well, the first vintage of ours. Anyway, we fell in love with the wine and decided that we would ask Anne to plant more, so she planted more for us so we can actually make a varietal wine from it.
The nose has changed so much since it's probably been like, 40 minutes or so. This is really delicious.
It has a lot more acidity than most California Viogniers I've had.
Right, but it's not that, usually my issue with like California acidity and Viognier is that it's fake acidity. So it tastes like vitamin C, like powdered vitamin C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is real acidity.
Yeah, no,
but
it's also correct acidity.
Yeah.
So this is named after Marie Suisse. This is a lock of her hair.
Oh.
It's actually an artistic license because she had hair like yours, curly brown hair. I love curls.
Me too.
But we figured with the gold rush, we better use the golden floxy locks. So she was a character. She was a French woman who moved to Amador to make her fortune during the gold rush. And she was actually arrested for wearing pants impersonating a man so that she could go and vote. And she went out and panned gold and, did all these ass-kicking things. And we were like, Anne, that's just like you. Like, you move up to Amador, you decide you want to farm, the way you want to farm, the way that, because it's pretty old school farming up there, except for what she's doing. So this is kind of our homage to Anne. And I love putting this piece together with her and working on it since the beginning. It's just been so fun. 2005 was our first vintage of this. And the Syrah, I don't know if you guys have ever had our Syrah from that. It's stunning.
I love Amador Syrah though.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, it's absolutely stunning, and that's my favorite wine from up there.
How has, obviously being with Andy, how has that affected your approach to tending to vines of viticulture? Or hasn't it?
Well, we've been together since I started. I don't know if it's changed it, but I do know that we talk a lot of shop. We probably don't have the most romantic conversations as couples though, because it's like, that vineyard's ready? No, I don't think so. I mean, we definitely share a passion for this, or we wouldn't have gotten this far, I think, together doing it. That being said, I think there's a lot that we challenge each other on. So, I mean, we are both pretty competitive with each other, I think. So we both want to make sure the other person's really doing it 100%. So I say it's positive. I think it's really good that we both, and he's very active. I mean, back when I started in the vineyard, you would see some winemakers not all year, and then you'd see them when it was time to thin and pick. That's when you'd see them in the vineyard.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's a much more seamless interaction between vineyard and winemaking, and most winemakers that are good at all are out there in the vineyard a lot. So there's a lot of crossover, but ultimately I have the end say in the vineyard work, and Andy has the end say in the winemaking. So that's kind of how we keep it. But I think we both really like what we do, and we have a good rapport that way. I feel like somehow I lucked out by being able to do this. My mom gardened all the time. I was always at her heels.
Where did you grow up?
In Connecticut.
Oh, right.
My dad grew up in Manhattan, but he bought a little 5-acre property, and we basically lived off the land kind of thing, and did 4-H. My mom grew everything. We canned and did all that stuff. So I kind of was raised like this. So it seems natural to me, and it seems like I'm very blessed and lucky to be able to be doing this.
Je call, I fall. There's a legacy between us.
So that's the story, and I think it's a pretty great one. It's definitely one that speaks to me, having changed career paths and ending up here, but I never regret the decision. I think it was the best decision I ever made. If any of you out there are contemplating changing your life, a new direction, a new career path, tell me about it in the comments. I would love to hear about what you're thinking. What are some of the things that you are scared about? What are some of the things you're excited about? I hope this story inspires you to take that leap of faith and push you in whatever direction you're meant to go in. I'll see you all on the next video. Don't forget to like this and hit subscribe. See you later.